Hi everyone, let's talk about exploring visual aids as you're thinking about what images to use for your PowerPoint template. We will look at rules of use, example slides, slide with too many words, and finding images. Let's talk about rules of use. So avoiding full sentences, you don't want to compete with your visual aid because your audience can't read and listen to you at the same time. So you are a visual aid and you are driving the presentation. The visual aid is just there to assist you. And you want to avoid reading slides so that we're still getting your eye contact and you are adding to the presentation. So visuals are just there to enhance the presentation. Choose meaningful images that are memorable. Maybe you can think back to some memorable visual aid presentations that you've seen, perhaps in high school assemblies or out there in the world, or TED Talks that you've listened to. I know back at UAF, I saw a very riveting presentation on frostbite, advanced frostbite, that really stuck in my mind. So maybe you don't want it to be that graphic, but it's something that can be memorable and meaningful to the audience. And using correct grammar and spelling, so check your spelling and explain images, charts, and numbers. Don't just leave things hanging there. And avoid information overload. You can always break up information. Be consistent in your design, so making sure if you choose a certain color or certain font to be consistent throughout and keep slides in order and avoid flipping back and forth. You can repeat slides if you need. You can also use a blank slide when you're not addressing the slide. So if there's any information you don't need to address right then, you can always use a blank slide. Let's look at two example charts that need to be improved and a slide that has an illegible color scheme. So example charts, here's an example chart of, I'm not sure what's happening here, but it needs explanation and needs to be broken up perhaps into multiple slides and a little bit less wordy. Here is another example chart that has way too much going on it, so that needs to be cleaned up and reduced. And then here's an illegible color scheme. So it's a little bit too dark and ombre color to read all of the words very clearly. And here's a slide with too many words on it. So breaking up those words using keywords and bulleting words. Let's look at finding images. So where are you going to find images? These are all free domain sources that are open to the public, because once you leave the UAA and you want to use the consortium library, you won't have access anymore. So these sources are good for education and continuing your education and being sources for free images, textbooks, all kinds of information and material that you would otherwise have to pay for. So this is all free. So let's take a look at some images you can find here. This is the Open Education Resource Commons. I'm going to look for birds. If my presentation was on birds, then I'd find all these images and charts and information and materials, textbooks and everything, articles on birds. And here's Creative Commons. I'll go ahead and search for birds in here too. Nice images of birds, all free. You'll still want to put a little license under there so it tells you what the Creative Commons license is. There's different kinds of licensing. They're all free and open to the public. However, you'll still want to cite them underneath the image in your PowerPoint. You won't need to orally state them though. You can just have them there. Okay, and then let's look at Smithsonian. Here's the Smithsonian. If I want to look for birds here, lots of nice images of birds. These became available recently because there were years and years and years of birds from the past and from books that are quite old, so they became in the public domain. Okay. And here are the image references, so just referencing those images. Okay, so underneath your image, you'll have the image citation and then the full citation on your image reference slide. Okay. All right. Thank you for listening, and now you know more about rules of use for your visual aid presentations.